Chapter 1. The Birth of a Legend. The howl of northern winds, the crash of waves against dark fjords. From the depths of history emerges a people who inspire both fear and admiration, the Vikings. Today, when we think of Vikings, images of horned helmets, blood-stained axes, and merciless raids often come to mind. Yet this vision is only a fragment of the truth, and much of it is a myth. From the 9th to the 11th century, these seafarers of the north reshaped the fate of Europe. Feared enemies at times, they were also traders, explorers, and cultural bridges between worlds. They crossed the treacherous Atlantic, reaching Iceland, Greenland, and even the shores of North America. But the Viking story is not merely one of conquest. It is a saga of survival, faith, courage, and an unquenchable thirst for adventure. Chroniclers who branded them as barbaric raiders saw only one side of the tale, and never the whole truth. In this documentary, we will uncover the real Vikings, journeying from bloody battlefields to bustling trade harbors, from the halls of Norse gods to the edge of the known world. And by the end, we may find that the Vikings were far more complex and far more fascinating than we ever imagined.
Chapter 2. Origins and Society. The Vikings were born in the harsh landscapes of Scandinavia, modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. They were children of snow-capped mountains, deep fjords, and cold, relentless seas. The land forged them into resilient, resourceful, and fiercely independent people. Viking society was built on a clan-based structure. At the top stood the jarls, noble leaders who commanded loyalty in battle and offered protection at home. Beneath them were the carls, free farmers and craftsmen who also served as warriors when called. At the bottom were the thralls, slaves often taken as captives during raids. With little fertile land, farming alone could not sustain them. This drove the Vikings to master shipbuilding and seafaring, venturing across oceans to trade, explore, and, when opportunity arose, to raid. Remarkably, women held a respected place in Viking society. When men sailed on long voyages, women managed farms, oversaw trade, and defended their homes.
Voyages and exploration. If there was one thing that defined the Vikings, it was their mastery of the seas. For them, the ocean was not a barrier, it was a highway to opportunity. The key to their success lay in their legendary longships. Sleek, light, and fast, these vessels could sail the open ocean, navigate narrow rivers, and even land on shallow shores. Powered by both sails and oars, they could travel great distances with unmatched speed. From the late 8th century, Viking ships appeared on the coasts of the British Isles, striking with terrifying speed. They sailed up rivers into the heart of France, reaching Paris itself. To the east, they crossed the Baltic Sea, establishing trade routes deep into Russia and down to the Caspian Sea.
Westward, their journeys took them further than any European of their time had ventured. They colonized Iceland, reached Greenland, and around the year 1000, under Leif Erikson, set foot on the shores of Vinland, believed to be part of North America. This was nearly 500 years before Christopher Columbus. These voyages expanded maps, connected distant cultures, and brought back goods, ideas, and knowledge. The Vikings were not just raiders, they were explorers of extraordinary courage. To the Vikings, the world was alive with gods, spirits, and forces beyond mortal understanding. Every storm, every victory, every tragedy was guided by divine will. In Norse mythology, the universe revolved around Yggdrasil, the great world tree. Its branches reached across 9 realms: Midgard, the land of humans; Asgard, home of the gods; Jotunheim, realm of the giants, and others, each with its own mysteries. At the head of the gods stood Odin, the one-eyed Allfather, god of wisdom, war, and poetry, who sacrificed his eye for infinite knowledge. His son Thor, god of thunder, wielded the mighty hammer Mjolnir to protect gods and men alike. Loki, the cunning trickster, brought both aid and chaos, forever walking the line between friend and foe. Rituals to honor the gods range from offerings of weapons and jewelry to grand feasts and sacrifices. Through the verses of the Skalds, tales of battles, betrayals, and prophecies, such as Ragnarok, the end of the world, were passed from one generation to the next. For the Vikings, death in battle was not an end but a beginning, an invitation to feast with Odin in Valhalla until the final fateful war. Warfare and weapons. Vikings were as feared for their tactics as they were for their bravery. They specialized in fast, devastating raids, striking suddenly, overwhelming their enemies, and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. Their weapon of choice was often the battle axe, light enough to swing quickly, yet powerful enough to split shields. Swords were prized possessions, often richly decorated and usually wielded by the wealthy. Shields, round and sturdy, were not only for defense, they were part of the shield wall, a disciplined formation that turned individual warriors into an unbreakable line. Contrary to popular belief, Vikings did not wear horned helmets. This image was invented in the 19th century. Real Viking helmets were practical, made of iron, and built for protection. Some warriors, called berserkers, fought in a trance-like fury, believed to be possessed by the spirit of a bear or wolf. They were feared not only for their strength but for their sheer ferocity. Discipline, speed, and the element of terror made Viking armies among the most formidable of their age. While their raids were legendary, the Vikings' trading networks were equally remarkable. Their ships carried goods across a vast world, stretching from North America to the Middle East. In the West, they traded with the British Isles, France, and Spain. In the East, they traveled the rivers of Russia, reaching the Black Sea and the Byzantine Empire. They brought home silver, silk, spices, and wine, exchanging them for furs, amber, iron, and skilled craftsmanship. Through trade, they absorbed knowledge, technology, and culture from the peoples they encountered. Shipbuilding techniques, art styles, and even agricultural practices flowed between Viking settlements and foreign lands. Some Vikings served as elite mercenaries in the Varangian Guard, the personal bodyguard of the Byzantine Emperor, a role that brought them immense wealth and prestige. Their openness to exchange made them far more than warriors. They were cultural connectors in a rapidly changing world. No golden age lasts forever. By the mid-11th century, the Viking era was drawing to a close. In Europe, strong, centralized kingdoms began to rise. Fortified towns and organized armies made raids less profitable and far more dangerous. In England, King Alfred and his successors built powerful defenses. In France, Vikings were granted land in Normandy in exchange for peace. The spread of Christianity transformed Viking society. Pagan rituals gave way to new religious practices, and the warrior culture gradually shifted towards stability and integration with the rest of Europe. Changes in trade routes, population growth, and a turn toward farming reduced the need for long voyages. Internal conflicts among Viking leaders also drained their strength. By the end of the 11th century, the Viking Age had ended, but their influence was far from over. Their descendants shaped kingdoms, cultures, and histories across Europe. Though centuries have passed since the last Viking longship set sail, their legacy endures. The Norse language left its mark on many modern tongues. English words like sky, window, and knife come directly from Old Norse. Place names across Britain, Normandy, and beyond still echo their presence. The Normans, descendants of Viking settlers, conquered England in 1066, forever altering its history. In the East, Viking forebears laid the foundations of the first Russian states. Icelandic sagas preserve their stories, offering a priceless window into their world. Their innovations in shipbuilding, navigation, and exploration paved the way for the great voyages of later centuries. But perhaps their greatest legacy lies in the spirit they embodied, the courage to venture into the unknown. The Vikings were more than warriors. They were adventurers, explorers, and dreamers. And even today, when the wind howls over the sea and the waves crash against the shore, it's not hard to imagine the silhouette of a longship on the horizon, carrying the unyielding spirit of the North.